Tied up like a common bandit, Jesus is led to the house of the high priest, where he is kept under guard by temple servants until dawn, being mocked and attacked by those who should have guarded him, but who, in their arrogance and false superiority, took advantage of the innocent man's fragility to mock his apparent inferiority. Meanwhile, Judas begins to spread the news of Christ's arrest on the Mount of Olives, believing that this news could impose itself, sparking a popular uprising. At the same time, another piece of news, which he himself had not counted on, reached the people's ears, namely, that the disciple himself had handed the master over to his enemies. Seeing himself taken aback by the misinterpretations of his gesture, Judas was forced to reveal part of his plan, indicating that the arrest would be the appropriate signal for the rebellion to begin. However, his conduct had shown that he was untrustworthy, and his word might not be true. After all, he had betrayed the leader of the movement, the one Judas himself said was the most important member and should be fiercely defended and blindly followed. How could the disciple himself act in such an unfaithful manner? And Judas, seeing things getting complicated for him, revealed the details of the conversation with the priests, in which they had confessed their desire to keep him away from the people only to preserve themselves until the end of the Passover, but that they would return him. And his interlocutors, equally cunning and malicious in the extreme, made Judas see that this was absurd, that the priests were scoundrel foxes, and that once they got their hands on their prey, nothing would take it away. Judas said it wouldn't be like that, because they had given him assurances that they would keep their word.
What convincing assurances could they have offered, Judas, to make you feel so confident?
The closest leaders asked him in secret and heated conversation.
Now, here is the bag of coins they gave me as a pledge of the word.
The naive apostle revealed, trying to make himself believable and demonstrate the reality of his words.
Money.
The most excited shouted.
Money in exchange for our leader? You betrayed the movement for a bag of money.
Things were taking a turn beyond Judas's control, and now the revelation of the coins, which had initially been given to him as a pledge of the priest's word and were to be returned at the end of the Easter season, had become a vile excuse to betray the master, making Judas even more odious and unworthy of any trust. This behavior dampened the most eloquent spirits, and the news of the bag of coins became known to the others, not because it presented itself as a guarantee, but because it was merely the price Judas paid, according to the simplistic interpretation of those who know how to see evil and malice in every gesture and behavior. Judas's story convinced no one, and, fearful that their cunning was leading them into a pit with no way out, they guarded against any display of indignation. The other disciples were terrified by what had happened. None of them were willing to act according to the dictates they had learned from the master. The women wept, some rebelled against Judas, others prayed to God, and they followed from a distance the events in the palace of the priests, where Jesus had been taken that night.